and live on mine as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I just got notification for it.
Not seeing showing me as live on mine. Let's see. You're saying that on your side it is showing that you're live?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, weird. My account is not showing live. I see people are starting to join in. Welcome, people. We will begin momentarily. We're just working through a couple technical things here, giving people a few chances to join. Yeah, I see that you're live. Check mine one more time. Yeah, for whatever reason, mine's not showing live, but it's no worries. Yeah, welcome everybody. We've got a special guest today. We've got Mr. Raph Barberi, and he's going to share about his travels and his photography, and we will begin momentarily. So, yeah, if you would, please maybe repost this live stream and invite other people to join. The more the merrier, and we'll begin. We'll take questions for Mr. Barberi as we go, and it's going to be a great conversation. So thanks for joining us. So Raph, let me ask, what's the weather like where you are right now?
Today is very stuffy. It's really humid. It's really warm. Well, for Belgian standards at least. Okay. So it's a solid 26 degrees, very humid, very cloudy today.
Okay.
So it reminds me a bit of
I got to do the conversion. So, okay. So 26C is about 79 degrees Fahrenheit, which to me, that would be pretty comfortable, depending on the humidity. But yeah, right now we're having a cool spell. It's probably, it's in the 60s or like low 60s right now, which I don't know what that would be in C. Let me see, 60, C.
15?
Yeah, about 15 degrees here right now. So when we get done, I'm going to go out and mow the grass and do some yard work, and it should be good weather for that. So, all right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us wherever you are. This morning, I'm in the United States, and it's morning where I am, and we've got a special guest joining us from Belgium, Mr. Raph Barberi. Good morning. Well, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. Good. Happy to be invited for an interview here today. And,
yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Looking forward to this.
Yeah. I've been on X for maybe a year, and I think one of the first accounts that I saw was yours because of the beautiful photographs that you share. And there's just something about them that really stands out. There's so much beauty on X, but yours really, maybe it's the golden hour that you tend to capture so well, but really drew my eye. So I've been an admirer of yours for a while, and really appreciate this opportunity to talk with you and learn more about you and your account. So thanks for joining us, sir.
Likewise, thank you.
So let me ask you, can you tell us a little bit just about your upbringing? Because I see you posting about, you're in Belgium, and then you're on some other corner of the world. You're seems like you're going all over the place, and France, and I've heard this Brazil connection. Can you walk us a little bit about your upbringing and kind of how where you've lived has influenced you?
Yeah. Okay. Could you put up the photo? Slide one.
Yes, sir. Let's see.
Yes. So I was born in Brazil. My father's whole family is Lebanese, though, and my mother's family is Portuguese, but they're both Brazilians as well. I spent the first 11 years of my life in Rio, in Brazil, and when I was 11, we moved to Denmark, where I lived for 8 years. So I spent pretty much all of my teenage years in Denmark. It was a very interesting experience, very different from Brazil, but I enjoyed it regardless. It's a wonderful place to raise kids in. I think it's very safe.
Yeah. What kind of culture shock was that? That had to be. I mean, I've I recently was in South Africa and I met a family who lives in Denmark, and it was so interesting learning about their country and their culture. And like you said, it seemed very safe. How does that compare to Rio?
Well, Rio is by no means a safe city.
Okay.
Obviously, we have a lot of problems with crime, a lot of problems with gang violence, and also like drug trafficking. It depends on the neighborhood you're in, though. Obviously, the majority of the crime is limited to very specific neighborhoods.
Okay.
So if you live in more of the like upper middle class areas or just even middle class, it is not as dangerous. I was thankfully raised in a middle class neighborhood. It was pretty safe. It was called Tijuca, which is a very famous neighborhood in Rio.
Okay.
But moving to Denmark was a complete different experience because in Brazil, you need to have someone take you everywhere. So your parents have to take you to a cinema or they have to take you to your friend's house.
Mm.
In Denmark, you're much freer from a very young age. You see kids as little as 5 going to school by themselves. They take the bike and they go. You never see this happen in Rio, I think. So,
I heard these people shared with me that when people go to the grocery store, that they'll leave the baby stroller or baby buggy like outside and just unattended.
mhm.
Is that very
Yeah,
true?
not just the grocery store, also restaurants
Yeah.
or when they go to a friend's house, leave the baby outside. Because the Danes, they have this belief that by leaving the baby outside in the cold is going to boost their immune system and allow them to sleep better,
Yeah.
which I think has actually been shown to be correct. So good for them. I remember one of the first stories that I heard when I moved to Denmark was a Danish woman in New York was arrested because she left her baby outside of a restaurant in New York because she didn't know that you couldn't do that in the US.
It's so
So
different here. Yeah. I mean, like when you hear that, it's to an American that sounds absurd, and people say, "Oh, that's crazy. You can't leave a baby out there." But I mean, I guess depending on what society you're in, maybe it's okay. That's amazing. Denmark sounds like an amazing place. What about the language? Did you speak English before you moved to Denmark, or did you have to learn Danish? How did that go?
yeah, so I did not know any, or I did know a little bit of English, but not enough to communicate by myself.
Okay.
I went to an international school when I was living there, so I learned English pretty fast. And within like a few months, I was already speaking it enough to be able to have classes and to communicate well.
Okay.
Danish, I also learned that, but not in Denmark. It's complicated to learn the language, not because the language itself is hard, but also because when people hear that you're not Danish, they switch to English automatically.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really difficult to practice. But because I was in a few extracurricular activities and I would be in all of these clubs, it was easier to learn.
For sure.
People
In that
often,
age too. Like I'm trying to learn Italian right now and Spanish and a little bit of German, and I can tell it's since I'm getting old, it's a lot harder
Mhm.
to pick something up at that age. Seems like it's you're right to learn something like that.
But so I'm thankful to have had the opportunity to learn languages from a young age because really, when you start learning languages, right now I'm learning 3 languages, and speaking all of these different ones allows me to grasp them much easier than.
Oh yeah,
Uh, so
that's
good.
that's great. So how long? Let me say one thing, folks. We would love to have your questions, so please feel free to ask your question on X. You need to click on the video itself. Don't comment on the post. Click on the video, and you'll see a live chat come up. If you're on your phone, the live chat will be at the very bottom of the screen. If you're on a PC, it'll be on the right hand side. But yeah, share your questions, and we'll ask them as we go. Looks like we got a couple comments. Oh, very cool. We've got Mr. Evan Amato joining us from Italy. Good day to you,
Amazing,
sir. Very glad to have you joining us.
for
And
sure.
yeah, I was just testing it there, but yeah, great. So we are in Denmark. You're 11 years old. How
Yes.
long were you in Denmark? How does this go?
So I lived in Denmark until I was 18.
Okay.
Um, my family continued to live there until I was 19, but the year later they moved. So it was really nice growing up there. As a kid, it's amazing, I think. When you are 11, 12, all you care about is going to a friend's house, playing video games. You don't have a care in the world. So you have so much freedom, and it's so nice to just be able to do that. When you become a bit older, it can be a bit boring.
Mm.
especially in the smaller cities where I lived in a small industrial town. I talked about it in my post on my Substack 2 days ago. So it was a pretty small industrial city. It wasn't a very interesting place. There wasn't much to do. If you're in Copenhagen, for sure, there's a lot to do. But in this city, we, yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. We had one cinema which wasn't affordable. Like the ticket would be 25 euros or something crazy like that. Um, Going to restaurants with your friends wasn't really possible. So we just ate fast food because that was the only affordable option for teenagers who didn't have much money.
Yeah.
Um, there's also a very heavy drinking culture in Denmark. A lot of their traditions revolve around drinking. If even from a young age, like most of my Danish friends, they started drinking 13, 14, which is for a Brazilian, that's very taboo.
And the U.S. it is as well. That's funny.
But I think I prefer it that way in the sense that in Brazil, it's a very hypocritical culture where everyone knows that everybody does it, but it's
Mm.
so, oh, good morning to whoever
Yeah.
just commented that.
Yeah. Good morning, gentlemen. We're glad that you're joining us.
In Brazil, it's a very hypocritical culture in the sense that um, everybody knows that people do it and everybody does it, but nobody openly talks about it, nobody admits it. In Denmark, it's very open about it. They're very honest with what they do, and
Mm.
I prefer this sense of this idea of honesty, and I think Denmark
Yeah.
does it very well.
Yeah. That's kind of the sense that I got too from the Danes that I met in South Africa. They were very open. I mean, they shared everything with us, and they were very interested in like U.S. culture and politics, and wanting to know, what I thought about this and that. They seemed like really enjoyable people. I really would like to visit there sometime. Seems like a
Yeah, people say that Denmark is a hard country to make friends in, but I didn't find that to be the case.
yeah,
Maybe it's easier if you're a kid. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
All
Have a
right.
good
Well,
day, Evan.
Mr. Amato, you can check out the rest of the discussion on the recording that we'll keep posted. So good day to you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes. What was I
Okay.
saying? I forgot now.
So you were in Denmark till you were 18. You started in Brazil, and where was next in your journey?
Yeah, so after that, I came to Belgium, to Leuven.
Wow.
It's a city I post about very often. I absolutely love the city. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. Just the city is incredible. Um, Great student life. I came here for university, so I'm still a student.
Okay.
Um, so I started university here, and as a student, I don't think there's a better city than Leuven. The entire culture of the city revolves around you. Like it's all about you being a student. So student discounts everywhere, student events every week. Um, you have all of these like job fairs for students of the university. These guest speakers. So they often invite very big politicians from the European Parliament or from the Commission or from the Belgian government itself to have guest lectures, and you can sign up for it.
Hmm.
I think a few months ago there was a guest lecture from the UN.
Oh, very
So
cool.
you have all these really cool opportunities as a student.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous, and I love seeing the photos you post from there. It's on my very long list of places to hopefully get to someday.
Let me know and I'll give you a guide.
Yeah, that'd be awesome for sure. Yeah.
The photo here is from the Great Beguinage, which is the Beguinage are a feature you find all over Belgium. They are places dedicated to beguines, and the beguines were religious women who didn't formally vow their devotion to God. So they still kept connection to the outer world, but they still lived in enclosed neighborhoods with just other religious women. So you had widows, you had nuns, and just, yeah, women in general.
Hmm.
And you find these all over Belgium. This one here is the biggest in Belgium. It's the Great Beguinage. In the 1960s, it was in complete ruins. So the university decided that they would like to take over possession of the Beguinage in exchange for uh, revitalizing it. So they renovated the whole thing, and then the government gave them the entire neighborhood.
Wow.
And then today you have professors live there, students, and guests of the university. But there's a big waiting line to sign up because everybody wants to live there.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. Wow.
And
So
then,
this is where you're in Belgium presently, correct?
yes,
So at at this point, at what, or let me say, at what point did you start getting interested in photography?
So my interest in photography actually comes from my parents. My mom, she's also an amateur photographer. Every time we'd go on holidays, every time we went on family trips or just went anywhere, she would have like this really bulky Canon, like a DSLR.
Yeah.
So she would take it everywhere, and sometimes I would borrow it and try to take some photos too. My father, he has a really nice film camera collection, which he doesn't use for film photography, but he likes the aesthetic of them, so he collects
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, it started with that, but it wasn't anything serious. Then in middle school, we had an art project where we had to take photos and we had to build a portfolio around color, contrast, patterns, texture, all of these different um, categories. And then I became really interested in photography, actually. So this is a photo my mom took when we went on a trip to Parachi, which is a beautiful colonial city in Rio.
That's
So
beautiful.
amazing place.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend it. So this was one of the first photos I took during in the project we had for class. I borrowed my mom's camera and I borrowed a lens that she had, and I just tried to focus through the lens itself. I liked how it turned out.
Yeah. That's great.
Um, but it was, just went to the woods near my house and tried to get photos for the project, and turned out nicely. And then when I was 18, when I turned 18, almost exactly 4 years ago, my parents gave me my first camera, which was an Olympus EM10. It's not a very expensive camera. It's actually, I think the body is 300 euros, and the lens, well, you buy whatever you like.
Mhm.
So it's very like entry level camera, but I loved it. I took it with me everywhere. And 2 weeks after my birthday, I think we went on a trip to Rhodes in Greece, and that's when my photography started. I think I really enjoyed having it in my hand. I liked the sound of the click. I liked composing the photos. I liked framing them. And from there, the past 4 years have just been the interest growing more and more every day, I think.
That's great. So it's been about 4 years that you've been serious about photography, but wow, your work looks like it's been decades. It really is great work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Too kind. But yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done, I think. I'm just getting started.
Well, we're happy to be along for the journey. So
I'm
so
happy that you guys are
you
here.
so you moved to Belgium. You're going to university there. You've gotten into photography. Where do we go from here? Do you want to? I know there's some sort of French connection as well. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want to just will that just kind of come up as we're talking about your photography?
Well, we can talk about the France connection as well.
Okay.
A year after I moved to Belgium, my family moved to France, to a city called Pau. This is the view from
Wow.
the one of the many hills around the city. It's beautiful. You have the Pyrenees, amazing. My family moved there because of my parents' jobs. They got transferred. Um, and yeah, it's an incredible place. It allowed me to explore a whole new region of Europe that I would never have traveled or visited otherwise, because it's not a particularly famous region. Bern or the Pyrenees, they're not very famous
Mhm.
outside of yeah, in the circles that I usually travel with, they're not very popular. So it's really nice also using learning to practice French and just learning about the culture there as well. Every time I move somewhere or when I go somewhere, I like to really learn about the place. I want to learn about its customs, its people, its history. I think that's the beauty of Europe, is that you can move 1 hour, 2 hours, and you're in a completely different place.
Yeah, I really appreciate that the different cultures and yeah, again, learning the local language definitely gives you access to really learn about the people. We've got a question here from the Ways of the Gentleman, going back to Brazil. If one is traveling to Brazil for the first time, where do you recommend visiting? Great question.
Oof, that's a really nice question because Brazil is massive. I don't think people understand just how big Brazil is.
Yeah.
Just the state of Amazon itself, which one of the states of Brazil is bigger than Germany and France combined, which is
Wow.
insane. But my interest is architecture and historical architecture. So for someone similar to me, I would recommend visiting Minas Gerais. It's a state very famous for its historic mines and historic colonial cities. It's beautiful. You have cities like Diamantina and Ouro Preto. Both are absolutely incredible, full of history, full of museums. The best food in Brazil is there, I think. I also say you should visit Rio, of course. I don't think you can miss Rio. There's nature-wise, I don't think there's a city as beautiful as Rio.
Mm.
You have the forest inside of the city. You have all these tropical animals in your doorstep. It's crazy. You step out of the house and you see all kinds of animals. It's amazing. And
Wow.
then in the state of Rio as well, you have Paraty and the beaches around that area. So if you like a tropical relaxed vacation, you can go to that area with some of the best beaches in the world are there. And they're not very known for people outside of South America. So if you want to avoid the tourists, go there.
Very cool. Well, that's great advice. That's very cool. Yeah, that's another place. South America, one day I'm definitely hoping to get to. So I will check out those places hopefully.
I'll make you a list, don't worry.
Sounds great. All right. So so your France, your family has moved to France and this beautiful countryside here. So you live there kind of in between semesters at school or
Yeah, so I go there for example, Easter break, I was there, Christmas break, and summer break. I'm usually there. And then whenever I can sneak in an extra day or two, like to go there as well, just because you have family and you have beautiful weather. You have the mountains. You can go for hikes. That's something that I miss in Belgium sometimes. The ability to just go on these crazy hikes, even though Belgium has some really nice hiking spots as well. They're not as easy to reach, I find.
mm, that's awesome. Um, so as you've been you know getting more and more into photography, are there certain subjects that you prefer to shoot over others? And do you want to talk about your gear a little bit? Kind of walk us through some of your journey here with photography.
Yeah, so when I went to that trip to Rhodes,
Mhm.
there's a photo I took there, which was the golden hour over a ruined church. So it was the golden hour, the sun hitting the ruins perfectly. It was beautiful. Um, I forgot to put the photo here, but maybe I can show it later. But it was this beautiful ruined church with the sun hitting it perfectly, and it glowed this really like bright orange. And from then, I've just been obsessed with the glow of like the sunrise or the sunset. So here's a photo of Leuven during sunrise. I went for a walk at like 6 in the morning because why not? And it looked amazing. So my favorite things to take photos of is just traditional architecture, so historic architecture with some bathed with the golden hour, I think.
And for those not familiar with the term the golden hour, um, tell us a little bit about that. Like, how long does it last? It seems like it's a pretty short window. Um,
Yeah, so you have to be lucky because this is when the sun is at its lowest in the horizon, so it starts turning red. But if the air is not particularly clean, or if there are clouds in the horizon, then you completely miss the window for that photography. It depends where you are. So if you go further north, if you're in, for example, in winter months, golden hour can last for longer just because the sun is always at a lower angle.
hmm.
In the summer, they last less because the sun is at a higher angle. But it's usually the first hour between after sunrise and before sunset. That's when you get the best light.
When I see your photos of golden hour, I always think like, and some of them are from like great vantage points. Like, man, did he just like rush out there and sit and wait for an hour, getting set up and just waiting for the perfect shot. And then, like you said, clouds come or something happens and you don't get the shot. I
Yeah,
imagine that probably
that's
happens quite a bit.
of course no, yeah, it happened all the time. So that's one of the things that photography taught me. It's patience and it's
Mm.
just learning to plan and just if you manage to get it, great. But if you don't, then there's always tomorrow, there's always next day. So
Hmm.
photography is all about patience. I think it's a good way to learn how to not to be very stoic. I think because you have to not let it get to you. Just if you have to stand there waiting for someone to walk out of the frame or whatever for half an hour, so be it. It's okay.
Okay, so yeah, that was another question I was going to ask. Is a lot of these photos you've got like very few people, or if they are in the photo, they seem like a part of the composition. I was curious if you ever edit people out or if you just are very patient and wait. But it seems like when I've traveled and I try to get that perfect shot, I'm waiting for somebody to move. As soon as they start to move, somebody else comes into frame. And, I end up just like throwing up my hands and just, okay, I'll take the photo with the person in the picture. And it is what it is.
Yeah, I think one of the most important skills that you can learn as like a street or architecture photographer is to integrate people into the composition of the photo.
Mm.
So of course, it's better if they're not there. So you have to wait and be patient, but sometimes it's not really realistic. Sometimes there's a really busy street, and so you have to wait for like the perfect moment where the people look like they fit into the place, so they become part of the atmosphere. They become part of the city. So it's really important to learn how to use them appropriately.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. Well, let me ask. Um, so you told us about the camera you got. Is that still the same camera that you use? And like, what
Mm.
lenses when you're traveling? What do you have like a just a telephoto lens or just a short lens or?
Yeah, with my first camera, I had the standard 20 to 60 millimeter one that came with the Olympus itself.
Mhm.
So it was an original Olympus lens. And then a year later, I got the telephoto one. So it was 70 millimeters to 300, which is where
Mhm.
you can take these incredible, like really zoomed in photos. I don't know if I included one. This one I took with the telephoto lens. So I was standing at the very end of the Belvedere Palace in Vienna, and
Mhm.
I zoomed in with the telephoto lens, so it looks really monumental.
Yeah, that's
With my new camera, I only have the standard lens, the 20 to 60 millimeter. It's not a particularly special one; it's just the standard one.
mhm.
But I hope to get a telephoto one soon, so I can take zoomed in shots like that one again.
So it is when for aspiring photographers, people listening, how important is the gear to having a great shot?
It's it's not important. I think people value gear too much. You can take incredible photos with your phone as well. This photo I took with my phone
Mhm.
in Croatia. I framed the city between the trees, and you have the sky, which looks like a painting. So you can take incredible photos with your phone as well. I think the most important thing is just to learn the gear inside and out, know what everything does, know how your phone works. Um, Even if it's like a basic camera, also learn everything about it. It's not as easy as just pressing the shutter buttons. You have to really put effort into knowing it. I think that's the case with everything, really. Um, but yeah, also just learn a little bit about what makes a good photo. So learn about leading lines, learn about composition, about the rule of thirds, about the golden ratio. If you gather all of these components into a photo, even with a pretty cheap camera or a phone, you can still get really wonderful shots.
Yeah, it's really incredible how far camera phones have come.
Yeah, it's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, when I'm 45 years old, so when I was younger, and I would travel, I would carry a camcorder, to videotape. I'm
Hmm.
talking about like taking my kids to Disney World or something like that. And then on top of that, I had a digital camera that I carried that was like a point and shoot. And that was very clunky and hard to carry that around. Now when I travel, I have it's a digital with a zoom lens, and the zoom goes up to 600. So it's like this giant lens. It's not one that you can change out, but the quality suffers like in dark situations. I can't get very good. It doesn't have very very big. I don't know what you call it, like the retina of the
The
equivalent of an
sensor.
eye. yeah, the sensor is not very big on it. So in low light situations, it's not great. But when I'm outside, I can get great photos of,
Mhm.
up close detail of things. So I still carry that, but man, more and more and more, I turn to my camera, and or I'm sorry, my phone. Just pull out my phone and use that because it takes great photos, and it's so easy then to share them or save them, and they just have really come a long way for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy how much has changed. Like when I was small, you had a like a Moto G, it's a Motorola phone when I was 12, I think. It only served for calling. I didn't have anything else on it. And
Yeah,
the photos it took were really not good. And then 2 years later, they came out with the same model, just upgraded, and the camera was an infinite improvement. So technology is growing so fast.
yeah, and the it seems like the processing, the brains of the phone are so good that it can adjust for the photo to make it, to balance the light or whatever. And I don't know, it seems like you really gotta, like that's one thing I struggle with my camera is I a lot of times will just leave it on like the auto because I know like what you're
Mhm.
saying, you really got to learn your equipment and hone it in to get a great shot, right? For some of these that you're doing with, especially with lighting and things like that. But the cameras are getting better and better at doing that as well.
It's true.
So what are some of the what's something you've learned and something that's really improved your photography?
Yeah, like I said before, I think patience and planning.
Okay.
You
Okay.
have to, those are for the type of photography that I do. So architecture, street, where lighting is important, and also having the people there impacts the photo a lot.
Yeah.
You have to be good at planning and good at just being patient, just sitting there and waiting. And I like to go on Google Earth, for example. They have like the 3D maps of most major cities in Europe. They have it on 3D, which is really good. And you
Hmm.
can align it to the directions of the sun. So I like to go in there and track the facade of the building on a photograph and know at around what time the lighting is going to be best according to the sun.
Oh
I like to
wow.
do that often. So there's like a whole process to it. So planning is very important, and I learned to do it decently, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a great tip there. Would have never thought of that. I use Google Maps a lot, but never thought of something like that. That's really smart. Well, so you've obviously traveled a lot. You've lived in various places and you've traveled. You're sharing a picture of Croatia here. What are some of your favorite places just as a tourist?
So actually, Croatia was one of the best trips I have ever done. Um, it was 2020, so during COVID.
Mm,
This one week, they announced that they were going to lift the restrictions for traveling to Croatia, and then at the same moment, my mother was like, "We're going to Croatia. I want to go somewhere warm for summer." So we spent, I think, almost 3 weeks in Croatia,
oh wow.
and because most of the tourists were still restricted, we managed to get most of the place for ourselves. Like it was completely empty. We saw Dubrovnik, which is usually completely packed. It's so full. It was empty the day we went because of the all the restrictions. It wasn't necessarily good for their tourism business, but it was good for the individual tourists because you got all these incredible places without the interruption from other people. So
Wow.
otherwise, anywhere in Italy, most places in Spain and the south of France, you can
Mm.
go wrong with any of those.
Yeah, I've just been to Paris and Giverny in France, but Italy, I've seen quite a bit of Italy, and it's just incredible. Everywhere you look, is something historic, something beautiful. It's I come back with thousands of pictures.
Yeah, me too. I had
Well,
to
that's
get a new SIM card, a new SD card in memory card in Italy because I ran out of space.
good.
I took so many photos that
Wow.
I had to buy a new one.
Well, do your favorite places as a photographer line up with your tourism spots, or do you have other spots that are particularly, special for photography?
I no, I think they align pretty well because most of my traveling is around architecture, so palaces, churches, town halls. So because my interest aligns so much with the things I like to photograph as well,
Hmm.
the places that I like to visit as a tourist are also the ones that I like to take photos of.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, let me ask you this. A lot of times, people want to photograph a spot and they're trying to frame it in their camera, and some places are just really difficult to photograph. Either you can't get back far enough, or there's a lot of other stuff going on in the picture, and it's hard to frame. And
Mhm.
people will take these pictures, and then they're just they don't know why their pictures don't look good. They don't look like the amazing shots you see on the internet. Uh, are there any particular spots you found that are just really hard to shoot?
Yes. Lighting wise, most churches are pretty difficult. If you open the other slides, please.
Okay, sure.
So I tried to take photo. I went to this church, which is inspired by the Sistine Chapel. It's in Toulouse, in the south of France. The lighting inside of it is not great. So getting the details of this building is so difficult. Otherwise, I found Venice quite difficult to photograph. Not the canals themselves, but you have a lot of churches and a lot of really beautiful buildings that are tucked away in very small plazas, like a piazza.
Yeah,
So getting back far enough for the photo not to be warped is a struggle. So
yeah.
Venice, I also found it difficult to photograph.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? When you what your eyes can see is so fantastic, and you try to frame it, and you just can't capture it. Or
Yeah,
you take the picture anyway, but you look at it and you're just like, man, this I don't even want to show it to anybody because it's nothing like reality.
exactly. I hate it when that happens, but it's just the way it is sometimes. So for
Yeah.
that, you need to use hopefully a wide angle lens that would usually allow you to get the full facade
Hmm.
with minimal warping.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like to do that. I've got a friend who's into photography, and he'll carry a couple of different lenses with him and that kind of thing. But for me, at least, I don't know. When I go to these places, I'm a tourist, and I'm with my family, and it's just so hard to carry gear like that. So I just stick to one camera with one lens, and then my phone, And so I never get the perfect shot, but I get, I can capture the memories and I get a few good shots out of it. But yeah, it's definitely a struggle at a lot of places. Well, is there any place that you have not been that you're just dying to get to photograph?
This question is so impossible because I want to go everywhere. I want to see so many places, but currently at the top of my list, I think the south of Italy. I would like to go to Campania. I want to see, the Caserta Palace. I want to see Pompeii. I want to see Naples, and also Andalusia. So I want to see the Moorish buildings, so like the Alhambra
Mhm.
in Granada,
Yeah.
and also Cordoba and Sevilla as well. So I think those are the top of my list. Also, I don't know how if you know, but Portugal is covered with these incredible. I think it's called Manueline style monasteries. So you have the Geronimus one. You have the most famous one is Batalha. There's incredible like Portuguese Gothic masterpieces, and it's crazy. I want to photograph those as well.
Hmm. So stay tuned. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes. Stay tuned, and hopefully within the next 2 years I'll be there.
Okay, so we were talking a little before the show. You're at university right now, and you've got one more year to finish up your degree, and then another year for masters. Is that right?
I finished bachelor's this year, and I start my master's next year. So I have one more. So by this time next year, I'll be finishing up my studies.
Okay. All right, and then hopefully some more travel, right?
Yeah. I'm hoping that by then I'll somehow have made it in the photography world and just don't have to get an office job.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
otherwise, I don't. I mean, that's the dream. But
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
I'm planting the seeds for that to happen already. So we'll see how much I get done in 2 years.
So let me ask you a little bit about that. So you're on X right now, and your account is growing nicely. You've got 30 some thousand followers, I believe. Um,
32.7.
Very nice, very nice. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Um,
It's
what else are you doing? I follow you on Substack. Um,
Mhm.
a pretty recent development for you, correct?
Yes. So actually, the on Twitter, it's crazy. Like 30, almost 33,000 people is insane.
Yeah,
It's
it
it's
is.
crazy. And when I started posting, I just had so many photos from my trips, and I wasn't posting them anywhere because Instagram doesn't have that good of it's not really good for photographers anymore. So I just like, okay, let's start posting on X because why not? And quickly I got a pretty decent audience, and I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And now it's in 3 years, it's grown to 30, almost 33,000, which is absurd, and I'm so thankful for like everyone who appreciates the stuff that I do. Other than that, I'm also writing on Substack, so I have 3 articles ready, published. One of them was about the Chapelle des Carmélites, which is actually the one you're seeing here in the photo.
Mm.
The second one was a tourist guide for Leuven, the city that I live in. So I made like a full guide on how to spend a day in Leuven. And most recently, my third one is actually related to what we're talking about right now, is how I fell in love with photography. So for more in-depth, people can go there and check out my latest article on Substack. I am also doing freelance photography for a company in Brussels, which does insurance of churches and civil buildings. So I'm working for them. I will work for them as a freelance photographer. I already sold them some photos before, but now we want to make it something more permanent. So it's pretty good. It's a good sign.
Yeah, that's great. You definitely are planting. It sounds like the right seeds, and yeah, this like you told us earlier, the key to photography is patience. So even if you have to get a desk job for a little while,
Yeah.
it'll always be there, and I'm sure someday it'll come to fruition. That's awesome. Well, let me ask you. You shared a little bit about ways to frame a photograph. Are there any other simple tips you can share for people that are using a basic phone, or maybe some common mistakes that beginners make that you can kind of warn us about?
Yeah. So I think the biggest mistake, the absolute biggest one, is not getting started.
Mm.
You need to just go out there and take photos. Most people are not born with the eye, they call it, for photography, but it's something that you can build. It's something you can practice. Maybe for some it's faster than others, but it's still something that you can work on. So first thing that I say is to go out and take photos, practice. Eventually you'll learn more and more. But also, more technical advice that I can give is people tend to focus too much on the subject itself.
Mm.
So they put all the focus of their photo on the single subject or in photograph, and then they ignore the other aspects of the good morning to Friedrich.
Yeah.
So people focus too much on the subject. So when you take like a photo, they ignore the surroundings of the subject. So the background, the framing, the composition often go neglected, which can make the photo look unbalanced, or it can make the photo look too cluttered, which is not pleasant to look at.
Mm.
So I just say to, oh yeah, this is like when I edit my photos, I try not to edit them too much. For example, here we have the leading lines, you have the rule of thirds, you have symmetry. So it's a photo that technically it looks balanced, which is what people should be aiming for. But yeah, those are the technical advices I can give.
Okay. Yeah, that's beautiful, and that I want to let me show one. Friedrich has one other question here before we move on. He says, "What's your favorite spot to capture during summer?"
Oof. In the summer, it's hard, isn't it? Okay. Um, I really like the Mediterranean. I think there's no better vibe than the Mediterranean vibe in the summer. It's unmatched. It's its own league of aesthetics. It's absurd. So the French Riviera, the Costa Brava in northern Spain, all of the entire Western Italian coast, amazing. Croatia, incredible. So all these places, I think the summer are the nicest to photograph.
Mm, very cool. Beautiful. Um, let me ask then, um, as far as editing goes, I saw you had a slide there about editing. How much touch up do you do, and why is editing necessary sometimes?
So I generally try to edit my photos to look as close to reality as possible.
Mm,
Sometimes the camera can't quite capture it, the colors as vividly as you want them to, or sometimes because you have to warp the photo a little bit, it doesn't look as it does in real life. So the example I have here is a photo I took in a village in central France. So the colors were much more vivid in real life because it was early morning, so the sun was quite warm. Um, I had to warp the camera a bit because I'm pointing the camera down, so it's slightly the angle is slightly off. So what I did is just I changed the angle and I increased the warmth a little bit, and that's it. I really avoid editing too much because I don't want to sell a fake reality of a place. I don't want to sell a place that doesn't exist.
right.
I want to show the essence of a place. So my goal is not only to take a photo of the place itself, but also the essence and the atmosphere it carries with it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's you see some of these photos that just like look like they're a cartoon because people have enhanced them so much, and you can't help but just wonder like what does the place really look like, because it's obviously not what the person's showing you in the photograph. And that's something I've noticed with your photographs is that they always look like almost as if I'm there, like a reality, just this beautiful. I think you do a great job capturing all of that.
That's the goal that I'm going for. I want to
Yeah, but yeah,
make sure that it's
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. It's. I was going to repeat something I already said. So
Oh, okay. Well, going to your comment about like the camera doesn't capture what you see. Our eyes are so amazing. The range of value that we can see, the range of colors and intensity, is just incredible. And as good as cameras are, they have a very hard time with that range, and
yeah,
they
of course.
compress it, and yeah, sometimes you shoot the
So
picture and look at it, and it's just like this is not what I'm seeing.
yeah, it's not the place that I'm in right now. It's
Yeah.
but something that I find that cameras also struggle with is black and white contrast. So our eyes are able to see both light and dark in the same place.
Mhm.
So, for example, if I'm in a church and it has a really beautiful stained glass, I can see the church and the stained glass in really high definition with my eyes.
Right.
But if I take the photo with my camera, I have to choose if I want the church to be bright or if I want the stained glass to be visible. So that's why the camera just is not able to do it often. You have to really put a lot of you have to have good gear for that and also put a lot of effort into getting the settings right. But something that I can recommend is just to underexpose the photo and then increase it afterwards in post editing, just because it's much easier to bring out the highlights from an undersaturated photo than from an oversaturated one.
Mm. Yeah, where they just get
Uh,
blasted out and there's white.
yeah, it's difficult to bring a photo back from that.
Yeah. So that's something I was going to ask you is do you shoot in raw format and that gives you greater ability to edit, or what format do you shoot?
Yes,
Okay.
in RAW. So since I got my new camera, which is able to take photos in RAW, the it's crazy because a single photo is like 45 megabytes,
Wow.
which is absurd. And so when you take it to Lightroom, Lightroom is really able to, because when you take photo in RAW, you're actually taking a photo of what the camera sees, while normally with like a JPEG or a PNG, whatever, the the photo is already modified by the camera itself. So it's no longer what the camera saw, but the way the camera processed it, which is why it's so much better to take the photo in RAW because you can really edit as you wish.
Yeah. That's awesome. The I told you I have a friend who's kind of into photography, and he showed me about the raw file format, and I tried shooting a little bit in that, but you really have to be committed to photography, I think, because it's difficult to share a raw photo. Like you can't upload a raw photo to X, correct? It has to be a different format.
It has to be it has to be processed a JPEG or a PNG or
Yeah. So you actually have to take the time, like, okay, I'm going to sit at a computer and edit this. It's worth. And if it's a great photograph, it's definitely worthwhile. But I don't know. I'm lazy, and I I just shoot JPEG or something, or take a picture with my phone. But and you can edit a little bit, on those. But like you said, it's once something's gone, once it's been touched already, it's you don't have the flexibility. Wow.
yeah. I mean, I really like the flexibility that I have with taking photos in RAW, but I understand that it's so much effort because you have to sit down and you have to connect your computer and then you have to upload everything to Lightroom. And I use the web version, so I have to have good Wi-Fi, otherwise it just stops uploading halfway.
Uh,
And then you have to sit down, look at them, then edit them. So it is a long process.
yeah.
With a phone, you can just take a photo and post it in 3 seconds.
Right. They make it too easy, don't they?
Mm.
Do you have maybe some favorite photos you'd like to show, and maybe tell us a story with each one?
Yes. Actually, this one over here is one of my favorite ones. I really like so I have two versions of this photo. There's the landscape one, which is on my C, and the portrait one, which is actually my most liked photo on X ever, with
Hmm.
208,000 likes,
Oh wow.
which is it was crazy. But this photo was I was visiting this village. It's called Saint-Cyr-la-Copie, and it's a region of France called Lot, and it used to be part of a historic viscount. But anyways, that's irrelevant to the story. I was there in the middle of winter, so it was literally just my family and like two other people in the whole village. Empty. There was no one. So we're walking around and exploring the the streets, and then I see that there's like this little passage which leads up to a staircase to at the top of a hill, which used to be where the castle was. And you walk to the top, and from there you get this really, really stunning view of the whole village from above. So that's how I got this photo.
Hmm.
And the light was impeccable. I think it looks awesome. It's such a beautiful place.
Yeah, it definitely is. Wow.
Then I have this one, which was one of my earlier photos. So it's pretty old, 2 years old, but I love this photo. When I took it, I thought it was so beautifully composed. It's actually not the edited version. This is the unedited one. So you can see um, the railing is a bit crooked. I fixed that in the other one, but doesn't matter. I love the layers. I like that you have the two ladies walking and eating ice cream, and you have the hills and the mountains in the back. You have the rule of thirds, and then you have the little lamppost, which I think just brings the photo together.
Yeah,
So
that's
this one I really liked at the time that I took it. So it was one I was really proud of 3 years ago. This one as well, I took in Paris. I was showing my grandma around Paris actually, and she was too tired, so she told me she didn't want to go out in the afternoon. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go and just explore a bit more. So I went to the Alexander III Bridge, which is the most beautiful bridge in Paris. I think I love it, and the golden hour was incredible with the dome of the Invalides. So
that
this was
is
also one I really, really
an
like.
incredible photo. Yeah, that is just
I, s-
unreal.
I spent almost 2 hours in this area just taking photos. So I really just stayed there and I was walking around back and forth in the bridge. People probably thought I was insane. Um, so I was just walking up and down the street and going to the different sides and trying to find different angles. And I think I have 200 photos just from this one afternoon.
Wow. Do you ever use a tripod, or do you just do all handheld?
I do everything by my hand, in my hand. I want to
Hmm.
get a tripod, but I haven't yet.
Yeah, because for like you were talking about in churches or low light situations, you have to have like a longer exposure to capture enough
Yeah,
light detail. That gets really tricky when you're doing handheld.
you have to have steady hands.
Wow. This is
Then
just a beautiful photograph.
yeah, I like this one. There's also one which is a portrait mode, and then there's this little. Actually, this one you can see as well. There's a little kid, a ginger kid, and he looks like his head is on fire because his hair is so bright orange.
Yeah, I see him there. That's beautiful.
Then this one was the one I was super proud of as well from my first trip to Florence. This was the last night we had in Florence, and the rest of the days were cloudy and rainy, so not great weather for photography. Then this one afternoon, the sky cleared up, and I told my parents, like, okay, we're going to watch the sunset in this place because I really want to. And so I made them walk all the way up the hill for like half an hour. Actually, from the apartment we stayed in was like an hour. So I made them walk for an hour just to watch the sunset, but I think it was completely worth it. And
Yeah.
there was a musician playing music over there, and people just sitting listening to him play. So it was a very like atmospheric moment.
Wow. Yeah, when I remember seeing this photo posted, I was just, I mean, I've been to Florence and I thought, my goodness, how did he capture this photo? You know, where was he? I went for a like an e-bike ride out in the countryside, and
Hmm.
I was further away than this, I think, from the church, and I took a photo of it, you know, hoping for something similar to this, but there's just so much atmosphere. You know, it's just like this blue haze in front of the church.
Hmm.
I was blown away when I saw this photo. It's just awesome. Sounds like a great
It
evening.
was it was amazing. I want to do it again, but with the new camera. So hopefully I can, because I use a telephoto lens for this one. So I have to first get a telephoto lens for the new camera, and then we'll see. But I'll be
Yeah.
back for sure in Florence. This one I loved. It was actually from the week that I met Evan in Bergamo.
Mm.
So this is the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, and it's really beautiful. I've never seen an interior so decorated. It's a crazy church. All of the walls, the entire ceiling, everything is gilded, like from top to bottom. It's every
Wow.
corner you look, there's detail, there's craftsmanship, there's it's just incredible. So the moment you step in, you get overwhelmed. So I took a photo of the ceiling of the main dome. I really like this photo as well.
That's fantastic. That is incredible. You did this just, you know, freehand. I know how tricky that is.
And I used my old camera, which is even worse for low light photography than my new one. So
Yeah.
thankfully, I think this church thankfully has really good interior lighting. So they did a good job at installing the proper lights.
Mm.
Not every church in Bergamo does that, but it's
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
This one as well, I really like. It's from Bordeaux. It's one of my favorite cities in France. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you like wine and if you like Paris, but without Paris, then it's perfect.
That's funny. Yeah,
It's
that's
yeah,
great
it's
shot.
I really like this photo. I was just going for a walk with a friend of mine. I was showing him around Bordeaux because he came to visit me in France, and the lighting was really nice. I think that the people fit really well into the composition.
Mhm.
I like the way
Yeah,
the street is laid out.
sometimes you see photos that people take and they've either scrubbed all the people out or they've I don't know, they've went there like, you know, into say the Sistine Chapel or something when there's like, you know, after hours and they were able to somehow take a photo and there's just nobody there. But it, you know, I don't know. I like photos that have people because otherwise it just feels like a ghost town. Like cities
Mhm.
are for people, people are part of the cities. And when you just have this empty place, it just feels like, you know, apocalyptic or something, you know, like something seems not right about it.
That's why I never remove people from my photos. It's like the whole point of me taking a photo like that is to make it as close to reality, and without the people, it's just not the same place.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you said. Like this people make the city.
Yeah. One
I
thing I
actually,
do, oh, I'm sorry. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say when I travel, I try to take a lot of candid photos of the people I'm traveling with. Also, you know, like you know, maybe we'll all do a posed photo in front of some, you know, noteworthy place, but I like to try to get the just the candid shots that kind of shows the day to day activities and what how this person was experiencing the place without them putting on a cheesy smile. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, I like those as well. I recently got a book from some friends as a gift on how to take portrait photos, like more candid ones.
Mm.
Because I'd like to take architecture photos, but I'm horrible at portrait and taking photos of people. It's really bad because some of my friends sometimes ask me to take photos for them, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like it's gonna turn out bad. So with this new book, hopefully I'll be able to take photos of them as well.
It is funny. It seems like certain people are more photogenic than others. Like they just naturally, some people naturally come out just looking handsome or beautiful in a photo, and other ones it's like just difficult to get that good shot. I don't know if it's
Mm.
something about the person or if it's always about the photographer, but that's funny.
It's really interesting. I have some friends that like you can take photos from them at any moment. They could be eating food or they could
Yeah.
be coughing and still it's gonna look good. It's
Right.
very frustrating.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that because you mentioned the Sistine Chapel empty, like the Vatican museums.
Hmm.
One of my dreams, one of my end goals, is to do the key master tour of the Vatican museums,
Oh yeah.
which is the so you have to book, I don't know, months, years ahead, I don't know, and basically an opportunity to open the museum together with the key master. So you have all the hallways for yourself, all of the chapels, all of the galleries. It's all for you.
That
So
would be
it's
incredible. Yeah.
it's a dream of mine. Hopefully someday I'll get to do that.
That would be yeah, that would be awesome. Um, I have a colleague at work that did that a few years ago, and he said, "Yeah, it was just unreal," And then James with the Western Exile account a few weeks ago, he talked about being in Rome during the COVID lockdown, and when they first started allowing tourism again to the Vatican, he was with the first group to go to the Vatican museums, and so he just as soon as he got in the museum, he ran to the map of or the Hall of Maps,
Yeah,
and he got this just beautiful photograph of it completely empty, and you can see the whole hallway is just a beautiful shot.
actually, I loved and hated the Vatican Museum so much. I love in the sense that there's so much to do, there's so much to see. I hate the way that it's organized.
Yeah,
Like I didn't get to see anything that I wanted to see because you walk in and you have all these dozens of different tour guides, and they have hundreds of people each one.
yeah,
And so I wanted to stop and look at the Hall of Maps because it's incredible. The place is amazing. But I couldn't because you had tour guides pushing you from all directions, so you couldn't stop to look or to take photos because just kept being pushed forward and nonstop. And everybody was just rushing to the Sistine Chapel and the Sistine Chapel, and it's so crowded, it's so packed. You feel like a sardine. Like I was really feeling physically sick because of how
yeah,
hot it was and how cramped and how pushed everyone was. So the Vatican Museum, the organization is so bad. So I would really want to see the museum emptier someday because it's the amount of stuff inside of it is absurd.
yeah. That I had a very very similar experience. I've been there twice, and it was just yeah, I went there thinking I'm going to get to see all this amazing stuff, and I did see amazing stuff. But like you said, like the whole time, I'm trying to keep my tour guide in sight, and I'm trying to listen over the earpiece, but he goes around a corner, and then I can't hear him, and I'm getting
Mhm.
lost from the group, and so I'm trying to keep up, and you're just like walking past all this incredible stuff, and the buildings themselves weren't even made for like giant public tours, there
Yeah.
were people apartments and things like this. And so a lot of times you get funneled through like single doorways. These hundreds of people trying to fit through, and it's just like what you get in the stream of people, and you just can't stop. You just keep
Mhm.
going, and
It's like a
yeah,
traffic jam, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
horrible. Another thing that really bothered me. Sorry, no, go on.
No, no, I said it is. I agree.
Uh,
Yeah.
Another thing that really bothered me there was that so we arrived. We got one of the later time slots. I think we arrived at 5:15. That was the time slot we had, And so we got in. It was already like a chaos. It was already chaos to get into the museum, but that aside, we started walking through the hallways and we visited some places, and then we finally made it to the Sistine Chapel. Then we left it, and then there's still some section of the museum after that. So I wanted to explore that section as well. But then when we got there, they told us that it closed at 6.
Oh,
So how are you going to pay full price and not have time to see everything there is in the museum? I think it's theft. I think it's crazy.
yeah. How disappointing, man.
And I know that there was people scheduled to enter even later, and they still had to pay full price, so they wouldn't get to see so many sections just because they closed early.
Wow. Yeah, that's. I try to when I've heard actually I think James said that going in the afternoon there'll be less people there in the tour, but that's what been a fear of mine is that if I go there, I'm not going to get to see something because it'll close. So I usually try to do like early in the day, but um, yeah, the tourism is always a difficult challenge in these places. All the other
Yeah.
hours. Well, I'm going to remind everybody if you've got any questions for Raph, please ask them. We'll be wrapping up here shortly. Raph, do you have any other photos you want to share with us of some of your favorites or?
Oh, I have one last one that I have in the slides, I think.
Okay.
This one. Um, I mean, it's a really beautiful church, but I like the story of how we found it because it really fits with the philosophy that I go by when I travel. So I was visiting the city called Namur, which is a city in Wallonia, which is the French-speaking part of Belgium. And we're heading towards the train station, and we accidentally took a wrong turn that we were supposed to, and we ended up in this little square with a pretty unassuming church on the outside. So okay, we're here, might as well just step in and see what they have. So we walk in, and it's this beautiful Baroque church with really beautiful art pieces, and you can see the wood carving of I think it's called the pulpits in English.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you have this really beautiful side altars as well. I don't know if you can really. I have a better photo of it. And you have these beautiful paintings. Um, and we did that just by getting lost. We would never have stepped into this church otherwise. Never have seen it if we hadn't accidentally taken a wrong turn or yeah, just gotten lost. So that's why I always say that the best way to explore a new city is to get lost. Just go out of your way to take a wrong turn on purpose. Just go anywhere. Because usually I find that the nicest churches in a city are the ones you don't expect to find in the main streets. They're the ones that are tucked away in narrow alleyways, which is also like the one I found here. Right, this one was also an accident. It's
Hmm.
on the outside, it's nothing. It's like it's really just. It looks like just a little chapel, and then you walk in, and they have Sistine Chapel-esque uh, frescoes, which is insane. So
Yeah,
just get lost. Just like in the nicest way possible, just go out there and purposely get lost.
that's great advice. I've been pleasantly surprised, in the same way when I'm traveling and I go somewhere I wasn't planning to, or I just wander into some church because the door was open, and I'm just blown away by like sometimes the most unassuming buildings, from the exterior are just so fascinating and beautiful inside. Um, yeah, that's great advice. I'm such a planner that when I travel, I like, try to utilize each part of the day to see as much as I can and do, but you really got to build in some time just to do that. Some wandering, getting lost. That's great. Well, do you have any final thoughts you want to leave with us, or one thing you want everybody to kind of take away?
I think photography is just a really nice way of eternalizing moments. So if you want to take photos, if you don't have an expensive gear, if you have nothing to start with, just a phone, just do that. Go out there, take photos, take whatever you want, anything. It could be your dog, your children, architecture, the beach, the sunset, whatever you want. Just go out there and take photos, and just remember that you're eternalizing a whole moment of time because that moment is never going to happen again. It happened once, and you managed to really make it permanent with a photo. So that's what I think everybody should just go out and shoot photos.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I love technology. I don't know. I love and I hate technology, but one really good thing about technology is I use Google Photos to back up my photos, and when I take them with my phone, and now even with my actual camera, it'll tag the photo with the exact location and the time and
Hmm.
the date and everything. So I upload to Google Photos, and there's a way to look at your photos by a map. And so I can look at a
Yeah,
map of the world and just see everywhere that I've been, and I can zoom into that area, and it just shows me just those photos from that area. And I also will make like photo books when I get done with a like a major trip.
hmm,
I'll always make a photo book, put on the coffee table, and it's just great. Flip through, and it really does, like you said, eternalize that moment. You can flip through and just remember exactly, what you ate that day, or who you were with, or what it felt like to be at that place, and just to see all the details. It's such a great way to remember something. So. Great advice. Great advice.
I also really like the heat map feature on Google Map on Google Photos. It's so
Oh,
handy.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, Mr. Raphael Barberi, I really appreciate you joining us today and sharing some of your beautiful photographs. If you're not following Raph on X, I highly recommend you do so. And they can find you on Substack as well. So please check them out there. I'm going to go and read your last couple articles because I'm a little behind. So I'll check those out. So
Thank you for the
yeah,
invitation for the interview, and also if you're listening from my accounts, do follow David too. He
I
has a really
appreciate it.
nice interviews, really nice posts, so do check it out.
Yeah, thank you. And if anybody's missed any part of this, I'm going to add this. I've got a thread on my highlights tab of all of the interviews that we've done. So if you want to go back and check out Evan Amato or Western Exile, or rewatch the parts you missed from Raph's interview, it'll be there. So check that out. And thanks again. Thanks for everybody that's tuned in. And we've got some other interesting guests coming up soon. So stay tuned. And Mr. Barberi, enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks again, sir.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.